If you work in the United States, chances are you've seen someone wearing a pair of running shoes with peculiar holes in their midsole. That's right, On, or so commonly mistakenly called On Cloud, a Swiss brand, is meteoric in popularity. I vividly remember working at a hospital and seeing a nurse wearing a pair of On Cloud Monster Hyper, which was a $220 pair of shoes when they were released. People grab these like folks run and grab whichever Ford Bronco they can get, not aware of how much variability there is between trims and packages. On released the Cloudsurfer Max, advertised as a Max Cushion reimagining of the popular Cloudsurfer model. Does this porous daily trainer glide across the pillowy above, or do they run more like something of this earth? Let's find out. Welcome to the AmeLiaRun channel. My name is AmeLia, and today I will be doing a review of the On Cloudsurfer Max. This is a shoe I purchased myself from REI in my size of 8.5M. Like all my reviews, I'll be going over the nerdy details for the shoe and discussing fit, predicting durability, ride, versatility, and value of the shoe. This is made with the hope of creating an accessible resource to assist runners of all levels of experience in their search for the right fit. My reviews are timestamped for easier reference regardless of where and when buyers are shopping. Starting off with the nerdy details. The Cloudsurfer Max has a weight listed by the brand at 10.3 ounces. It has a 37mm heel stack, 31mm stack height, and 4 foot for that 6mm drop. It was originally priced at $180, and if you're willing to be flexible with colorways, you can find the shoe as low as $126 right now. The midsole here is filled with On's Helion Super Foam. It's a foam advertised as tuned firmer than other highly cushioned shoes for easier running efficiency. You might be wondering if there's a method to On's iconic midsole designs with all these little holes. And actually, as I learned myself, On actually patents this. They call it the Cloud Tech phase. As they advertise it, this is sort of like a domino style of holes that's there to kind of help it kind of create a smooth rocker, like a propel. Think like Saucony's Speed Roll in the Endorphin family that you see, like from the Endorphin Speed, most recently Endorphin Azura. The shoe is given a really rather sturdy rubber outsole on the bottom here, and just like a very, very premium mesh upper. The fit for the Cloudsurfer Max is definitely true to size. As somebody who has to change my lacing in most shoes, the instep felt really accommodating for my high volume feet, just kind of without changing the lacing. I would imagine this might lead to some runners feeling comfortable half a size down even. If you prefer tighter or snugger fits, I don't. So the upper is, as I said, is definitely premium, and it feels wonderful both as a running shoe and an athleisure shoe. You get all sorts of little love here with like different kinds of padding. I did notice too, there's a couple different versions of the mesh in here too, which on the inside of the shoe, which is really, really nice. The high quality build for this shoe leads me to believe that they can probably handle anything you throw at it, from long runs to daily walking, errands, or wearing them to work, which makes me think that, projected durability, I think these are going to be pretty durable. When the rubber meets the road, the ride of the shoe is a bit questionable in the Cloudsurfer Max. Despite having Max in the name, the ride is far from what you'd expect from a Max cushion shoe. Each stride for me definitely felt quite firm, which, on its own would be fine, but it was a little disappointing when I laced these up for what I was expecting to be cushioned, like, maybe like an easier day of a run, or like a long run that I wanted to go a little bit smoother or easier on. The highlight of the ride is how comfortable Cloudsurfer Max's upper is. Throughout all my runs I took in this, the shoe definitely felt accommodating in the upper, which is not something I'm used to seeing in shoes I've been reviewing. Strangely enough, though, the shoe did feel heavy underfoot, especially when paired with a firmer road feel. That's kind of backwards, right? It's rather backwards. There feels like, there's next to no energy return in this thing, but my strikes never really felt like they were receiving any of that notable shock absorption or maybe other positives you expect from not having as much energy return. It wasn't plush. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm on a cloud. I just said that. I did not mean to make a pun. I am sorry. But, the ride definitely felt underwhelming for sure. The Cloudsurfer Max is a shoe that would work as a daily trainer, I'd say, or even maybe a long run shoe if you are looking for something maybe a little firm underfoot. The upper rides comfortably through all the distances I took it on, but there's a disconnect between the firm feel and the weight. That just kind of made the rest of all this calculus really difficult. It was just really hard to justify taking this out on a run, even as I had it in the shop, so to speak, for reviewing. I had other shoes I was rotating with it, and I even thought, I'll be honest, one run I put these on, I went down the road, and I was like, I'm not really feeling this today, and came back and switched them out. As an athleisure shoe, though, these are great. The Cloudsurfer Max are wonderful athleisure shoes. I get why so many people wear ons to work. I've worn it 3 times, and I've received several compliments for the aesthetics of this shoe, particularly its colorway. Which, it's definitely, you get that positive little dopamine hit, right? It holds up well, though, where I stand and walk about in my office all day, which is all more you could really ask for in an athleisure shoe that you're wearing to work. At $126, I definitely think this is fine, considering, 126 is definitely below. When I think of the median price for most daily trainers, I think 150. So I think at 126, you might be able to justify it, but 180 was definitely way too much for this shoe. But it's a good looking shoe, and I think if you're trying to have a one shoe that you can wear to work, and then maybe just quickly change in the bathroom before you head back out to the park to run, or the gym if you're on a treadmill, you name it, probably this shoe would fit that kind of the criterion. Might be worth an investment at that point. I can tell you this shoe, compared to some of the other ones we've talked about recently for reviews, you're going to be able to find this shoe just about anywhere. I saw one at Dick's Sporting Goods. I saw it at the local running shoe store. You're not going to have a hard time finding this shoe to try on. There are a few things that are really promising in the shoe, particularly, its upper sharp looks, the aesthetics. When I'm looking at the shoe, I can see immediately a few glaring areas for refinement. The first of which feels like the foam. The foam feels firm. I know that kind of mixed reputation on the foam. Feels like those who review shoes usually highlight that On's foams are usually a little more firm, whereas it kind of feels like you know, in the main kind of like discussion of running culture, some folks think that it's supposed to be softer, which definitely was not the impression I got with this. You know, I'll say too that I don't feel like I really benefited from any of that domino style, you know, their patented rocker technology. You know, despite being the Max version of the Cloudsurfer, I feel like the shoe didn't really have a whole lot to it that warranted that name, aside from just marketing. I'll just call it how it is. I do feel that if the shoe maybe cut some weight and then stayed true to its firm kind of foam, you know, I think you might have to change the name from Max then. But, you know, on that regard, I think that might work. Or you just go the opposite direction. You add more cushioning so it actually matches what it's advertising being a Max shoe, right? You know, all said, I definitely will be rotating this shoe, kind of similar to the last review we did with the Reebok. I'll probably be wearing this to work. This will be a nice athleisure shoe, but it doesn't really make me any more confident recommending it for running. Okay, so with that said, I hope you all stay healthy and safe. Please remember to subscribe. Definitely helps the channel. And I will see you all in the next review.